We have a co-host right here because we babysitting. So this is gonna be an interesting one today.
Let's see how it works.
But he just wanted to touch some stuff, but just bear with us. But anyway, I promise he just tried to take a nosedive. I got your foot. Miss Thinker.
What's a soulmate?
Hi, welcome to Wedded Wednesdays. My name is Patrice Hunt, and this. You was just serious, like we was just like serious. And then
I am. I was going to turn away, but I told you I wasn't going to do that, and I forgot last week. So
that's Marcus.
I did. Yeah, boo.
That's Marcus Hunt. So today we're talking about a subject that Marcus inadvertently chose last week. I don't think when we were doing it, I don't think he knew he was choosing it. But what's our topic today?
Jealousy.
Yep. So I always ask him, do you want to start? And he'd be like, nah, I just want to hear what you got to say. So I'm not going to even.
There we go.
I'm not going to even ask him. But I did look in, like, I was just like, well, what is jealousy and things like that? And so I looked up some definitions, and jealousy actually has three different ways to define jealousy. The first way is envy of someone. The second way is feeling or showing suspicion of someone's unfaithfulness in a relationship. And the third is fiercely protective or vigilant of one's rights or possessions. So I kind of feel like that third one is like a good way to be jealous. I'm just saying, because it says to be fiercely protective or vigilant of one's rights or possessions. That's protecting what's yours.
I don't know if that's jealousy for me, but
hey, look, that's what Merriam-Webster say.
Yeah.
If you have an issue with the definition, take it up with them.
I will.
But in the Bible we hear about like we read about jealousy being bad. Like in Galatians 5:20, it says that jealousy is an act of a sinful nature. So then it's like, well, how? But it also says in the word that God is a jealous God. So then it's like, how do you relegate those two things? Like, one, jealousy is an act of a sinful nature, where God can't be sinful, but it says God is a jealous God. So I think that that's where it comes in with the three different types of definitions for jealousy. I think that the jealous God is a jealous God is more of the fiercely protective or vigilant of his rights or possessions. Like, he's protective of us, and he wants us to love. He wants our affections and our worship and our praise and our adoration to be singularly for him and not other idols.
Yeah.
And so
I look at God as love.
Yeah.
And jealousy is the opposite.
That's what you think? Yeah. Well, what do you think? How do you feel about the scriptures that said, when he said God is a jealous God?
God is love. And anything that, imposes a threat to that love and him, he's, against that.
Right.
So he's love, and jealousy would be the opposite of it.
Okay. So, I think what I was saying, what I would looked at it, as God is demanding faithfulness and exclusive worship. Like what I was just saying before. So I think that there is, but so when I looked up the definitions and stuff, then that made me feel like there is room for jealousy in marriage. Because going into this week, and when I was looking up scriptures and stuff like that, I was like, it's no room for jealousy in a marriage. It's not like, you should not be jealous of your spouse and all that. Even though I have been jealous in different situations, but I think the difference is like jealous of and jealous for, like as far as the definitions. So jealous of is like gives you that first definition that I said with envy. It's like I'm jealous of somebody else, and I'm jealous because I might be jealous of somebody's cute purse, and I'm like, "Ooh, I want that purse because I want something that I'm envious. I want something what somebody else has."
Okay.
Or I'm jealous of my spouse's relationship with their uh coworker or whatever, and I'm jealous because I feel like my spouse is giving that coworker attention that I want.
Mm-hmm.
But jealous for is I'm jealous for my spouse's affection because I want all the affection, like all that, not like necessarily like, oh, I don't want him to talk to her, to a coworker at all, but I want sacred marital affections and all of that to just be saved for me. So I think
Okay.
that's the difference between jealous of and jealous for,
Okay.
I think. But so I think that there's a way to have like good jealousy and bad jealousy from looking at the definitions. How do you feel, Seth?
I'm thinking about that. On
Yeah.
one hand, I understand what you're saying. You know, the phrase "keeping up with the Joneses." I look at that as a jealousy of something that someone else has, whether that's, you know, something that you see day to day, walk outside and see it, or Instagram. You
Yeah.
know, you're jealous of, man, they're on vacation, they have a new house, they have a new car, they look like they're always going somewhere or doing something. That's jealousy. I'm The healthy side of it is what I'm trying to see. Um, you know, but as we go, I probably will get there. I'm just thinking, you know.
I think the healthy side of it I'm going with is there are certain things that should be um, sacred.
Okay.
There are certain conversations that you should not have with other women, and there are certain conversations that I shouldn't have with other men. There are certain things you shouldn't do with other women. There are certain things I shouldn't do with other men. And so the good jealousy is just me being protective of, like, no, this is mine. Like, that part of you is mine and only mine. And because of that, you cannot give that to anybody else. I think that's where it comes from. Like how if we look at it like how we look at it with God, like how God is jealous, saying that He demands faithfulness and exclusive worship. So as your wife, I demand faithfulness and exclusiveness as far as your emotion, like your affection and emotions are concerned, as far as like attractiveness, or affect. You know what I mean? Like I want my things, the way that we interact together, to be the only the way that we interact. I don't want it to be a way that you interact with other women. And so if I'm bringing that up to you, like saying this is what I expect and this is what I demand out of our relationship, that how you hold my hand, how you treat me, how you hug me, how you kiss me, that is just mine, and it's not open for anybody else.
Okay. Keep on.
Ain't nothing to keep on.
Keep on.
So
I'm thinking.
you thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that the issue comes when the jealousy is not good jealousy. When it's not like I just want you to keep the main thing, like all my stuff is just mine. But it turns from where I don't want you to interact with another woman at all. Like if you go into a room and it's another woman in there, don't speak to her. She don't act like she exists. Just look the other way, act like you blind.
See, that's why I think for me saying this, that's why I don't see a healthy side to it, because I think that is truly going to be your perspective of the situation. And if um, whether you deem that I'm doing something or perceive that I'm doing something that I shouldn't be, or I'm offering something that I shouldn't be, then that jealousy turns to something else. You know, it turns and gives birth to sin, if you will. So and for me as a human, as a man, to say that I can keep that in check when I struggle with what comes out of my mouth, I think that that's a slippery slope for me. So I
Keep
can't,
what in check?
um, me keeping my feelings in check.
What do you mean?
I could see, if I were to see you hug another guy, don't know the context, don't know if you know that person, don't know, hey, something was just said and, you embrace him for whatever reason that is. But outside looking in, you're hugging another man. At the bottom line, that's just what it is. It's up to me to remain objective as to, you're embracing that person for a reason. And until I know what that's about, I reserve, I keep my comments to myself, as well as try not to even allow my mind to even go there, instead of being envious, show compassion.
So I think with that though, like it's different because like I'm on prayer team. So like if a guy comes up for prayer and he gets emotional or whatever, I might like embrace him because of that, right? But my embrace of him ain't gonna be the same as my embrace. You know them church hugs with the butt out, just top
I mean,
rubbing back. That's it.
but we're talking about
As
jealousy,
far as
though.
I know, but I'm saying, but that's what I'm saying.
But
You
can't
could still be, you could be like, okay, it's a gap between that. That's all right.
gap or not. Like, is
So
it?
you would still, you
But
do you
what?
get jealous when I hug men?
I don't see anything.
You don't see anything.
I'm not in the church,
I know, but I'm just saying in
But-
general.
but-
Like you've seen me hug other guys,
and I never say anything.
but are you jealous? Does that make you
It does
jealous?
not make me jealous. What I'm saying is, if we're talking about jealousy, the part that we can't. I'm just saying that's the part about jealousy is you can't control what I think. You can't
Right.
control so what I'm saying is I can't see it being healthy in certain aspects. I'm not necessarily talking about me, but just in general. And especially with the way, like I said, I view God as love and jealousy is the opposite.
But then, so if you saying God is love and jealousy is the opposite, then you saying that God can't be jealous.
No, he can be jealous if we're putting something above him.
Bless you.
Bless you, man.
So, so I can't be jealous if I feel like you're putting something above me.
Again, the difference. Here's the difference.
Bless you again.
The difference is God knows my heart.
Right.
Now, without me saying anything, he knows my heart. Me bringing something to him that he's already aware that I've done, whether it's an act and or just just the thought of it.
Mm-hmm.
You, on the other hand, are only going to be able to go off of what I'm saying and or don't say, that communication, that verbal and nonverbal piece of it. But I may say something or someone may say something just to get along. Let's just move this along. I don't necessarily want you to know exactly how I truly feel about that. So I'm just saying, from the standpoint of the person's, any individual, what they're feeling inside versus what they're saying. That's all I'm saying. That's so regardless if I verbalize to you, hey, I don't like when you do this, that makes me feel some kind of way,
Mm-hmm.
or not, whether I say it or not, if I don't deal with it, it's going to continue to build up and I will respond a different kind of way, or someone may respond a different kind of way. So I'm just saying, are there things, are there, can I look at it from a standpoint that, okay, there are some things that I have a healthy respect for, good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
But does that make it acceptable? Does it make it right? So I look at it in marriage. I understand what you're saying about what we do should be between us. How I do something with you should only be that way. And yeah, you may be jealous or I may be jealous when we see something outside of that taking place. I get that. I'm not refuting that. I'm just saying that the jealous part of it shouldn't be there because of the love that I have and that I trust that you're not going to put me in that position to feel that way. The love between you and I, the communication that we have, you know what will accept and won't accept as it pertains to that. So, so when there is a chance or, that comes up, that jealousy piece comes up and is based off of something that you've done, were you not, was I not, you know, were you not being mindful at that time of how this might look, how my husband may feel, or vice versa, how my wife may feel? Okay, if I'm over here talking to her and it just gives the wrong optics, they're alone, they're over there whispering, they're this and that, they're smiling. Oh, she done touched him on his own. It could be innocent, but the look of it. And so because of that look, it gives off a different vibe.
Um, I think the thing with that is when I was looking at the definition, and I guess because I'm going strictly off of what the definition says that jealousy is. So I don't think that there's anything wrong with the third definition, which is being fiercely protective or vigilant of one's rights or possessions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that in that essence, with that definition of jealousy, it's saying that I'm going to protect our relationship, and I am going to make sure that if something comes up, because jealousy really is kind of like, it's an emotion. Everybody's going to feel it. It's nothing you can't be like, oh, I never have been jealous ever in my life. It's nobody who can say that. Like, it's something that might just creep up. Like you said, you walk in and you see me hugging this guy and you're like, what's up with that? You get that little twinge of jealousy, but then you just go ahead, like you don't run with that twinge of jealousy because like you said, my character, who I am, all of that. So I think that first part that's what it is. It's a reaction because you are like, hold on, that's my wife. This is our relationship. So then now you check because you're being protective. You like of what we have. You're like, hold on, let me see what this is about. And then when you see that it's innocent, then you're like, okay. I think that's what it is. Because I don't think that jealousy can be like, oh, I'm never jealous.
I'm not saying it that way, and I'm not going against any of the definitions. I'm just looking at the application thereof of the word jealousy and these definitions. Like you said, I think is you looking at it singular by itself. I think it's problematic from the standpoint of there are other things that need to be in place or in play in order to have a healthy jealousy.
Right.
Or to be healthy.
A healthy jealousy.
Yeah.
See?
So, but
I brought him over, y'all.
No,
that's it. The podcast is over. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Wednesday.
it seems that way. Like I said, I've been a part of too many conversations where it's a healthy jealousy to begin with. It starts off that way, from that protective standpoint. But then there's a thin line between healthy jealousy and I'm trying to preserve and protect what I feel God has blessed me with to I'm
being possessive and
overreacting.
But then I feel like that's when bad jealousy comes in.
But how do you stop it? That's what I'm saying.
But that's what I'm saying. But I think that the root of bad jealousy is usually like because somebody is prideful or arrogant or selfish or maybe they have childhood trauma, they have a fear of like being abandoned or something like that. So I think that all those things play into the bad jealousy. So like, the healthy jealousy is just being, oh, hold on, like your ears are, because if you're never jealous, then that means you don't. I mean, like if you've never had a situation where you're jealous of your spouse, where you're jealous, like, oh, I see this or I notice this, then like, does your spouse, like, can you really say, oh, like that's my all in all? Because because if I'm yours, if you see me doing anything with somebody else that you like, hold on, you don't care. But I feel like if you don't care, then do you, like, how does that mean you feel about me? Like, do you value me and our
See
relationship?
that's what I can't stop that part. And I don't think any
What you
human
mean?
can, like if somebody says, well, I'm not jealous, or, well, he or she may be doing this. Oh, it's okay. It is what it is. That doesn't mean that that person doesn't value your relationship or what you guys have together. They may just be that secure in what they have and know and trust that you are not doing anything or will do anything.
I mean, I know and trust that you ain't doing nothing and will do nothing, but I still be like, who is that?
Okay. Okay. And then if that who is that turned out to be somebody that I used to date. See, now it's
That don't mean I have to like it.
Okay, but how do you?
But you, I
what I'm
also know
saying,
that you respect our relationship, and you going
okay,
to,
I'm just saying jealousy is funny,
yeah.
and you have to guard your heart against it. It's
You
not
have to guard your heart against the,
of what it leads to.
yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I'm not, like I said, I have nothing against those definitions or anything of that nature. And rightfully so. God is a jealous God. He will not have anyone before him.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I won't have no other woman before me.
Yeah. The difference is, whereas God knows my heart and how I'm viewing a certain situation, whether that be materialistic things, money, or whatever the case may be, he knows. And if I sat down and truly, assess the situation, he knows that you are putting this on the pedestal, you are putting this above me, whereas I probably don't even recognize that I'm doing it.
Right.
And then I'm asking God, and as I pray and talk with him throughout the day, to reveal to me the things that are hindering me from being closer to him. And then that's what he shows me. Okay.
Right.
But in a relationship, in marriage, I'm saying that yes, that same checks and balance is in place. Right. If we're having that same common ground, I look at it more so, it's in relationships and in marriage, we're more prone to take it to that next level, whether it's intentional or not. I just think that, yes, it's healthy jealousy to have, to be protective over what we have. Yes. But I need to communicate that. I need to be able to express in some fashion that, this bothers me when this happens. And then I have to trust and believe that you, as my wife, will, take heed of what I'm saying, identify what it is that, I'm truly saying, and then identify those instances where these things occur. And then, let's make changes. Let's talk about this.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. I don't think it singular. Okay. I understand the definition. There's nothing to talk about. But when you start to put it in, the application into real life situations, now other things need to come in play in order.
Right. And we're going to talk about that in a minute. But like in Galatians 5:20, it tells us that jealousy is the act of a sinful nature. So I think that the jealousy, as far as, like the emotion, like, oh, that little trip that you get, like, hold on, what's this? That's one thing. Like, I think that's the healthy part. Like that, the feeling that you get, that's the healthy part. But the issue comes in is when in Galatians, it says it's the act bless you, of a sinful nature. So I think the issue comes in is when you act like negatively act out on or respond in a sinful way because of that jealousy. Like when you take it the envious route. So because it's all like it all starts with an emotion or a thought or something. And so if it's starting with a thought or a feeling, and then we just like, oh, we leave that feeling there because now we have those parameters in our relationship. And I'm like, oh, I see this, but I also know that he respects our marriage, and I leave it at that. That's one thing. But where it becomes unhealthy or a bad jealousy is when I see that and I know that we have parameters in our relationship, but I continue on and I make a big deal out of it, or I confront you about it, or, whatever the case may be. So, but what I had written down a couple of things on how to deal with jealousy. And so one of the things that, because I feel like the healthy jealousy can be put in place can help you put safeguards in place for your marriage. And so I feel like if you have that healthy jealousy where you saying, hey, listen, there are things that I demand from you that are only for me. And because of that, this is what I'm okay with. This is what I'm not okay with. As far this is what I'm comfortable with, this is what I prefer, and we could come to that as an agreement. But I think that the first thing I put how to deal with jealousy is if you have a jealous spouse, try to understand the cause of their feelings. Like if you feel like if it's a situation where you feel like I'm being jealous, then like really understand where I'm coming from. Like if I see you talking on the phone to somebody, another woman, and it's like, and I'm being like I don't really like that you do that. And you like, well, but babe, that's not a big deal. This is about business, whatever the case may be. But then I sit down and I'm expressing to you, well, yeah, I understand you're saying it's about business, but sometimes y'all conversations don't see. Marcus gets distracted by babies. Are you listening?
Yeah.
What's the last thing I said?
Well, look, you put me on the spot, but you was just saying like if I'm on the phone with a female and when I say we're talking about business, but
yeah, and I say, yeah, y'all were talking about business, but there are also aspects of your conversation that went beyond business, and I don't appreciate that. That is me letting you know how I feel, and so there may be a root in that jealousy. You know what I'm saying?
But again, just per that. So then if I respond back with, so I can't have female friends either? Because the conversation is about business, but if I then start to give encouragement and or advice about their relationship or something going on in their life, it didn't got personal.
Right.
So now you come in on the personal side of it. Now what? See, that's all I'm saying
But then this is the thing, because we have to figure out what works for our relationship. Because it might be, what I would prefer if you, because what's that song with it was a song when we were growing up. It was like I used to talk to you about your boyfriend and all that other kind of stuff. It was like I can't remember who it was. If you remember, put it in the comments because I don't remember. It was like a song like that was a Usher. I used to use the one I used to talk to when me and my girl was having problems. And used to say it'll be okay. Suggest little nice things I can do when I go home at night and let my head down, and all I really think about is not his girl.
Yeah, but we talking about Usher. So I would just leave that alone. He got his own life and what he's dealing with. So he got some great songs.
But what I'm saying is there's truth in that.
Yeah, it is.
There's truth in the fact that, you may be going through this situation. Like you may be talking to her and like, oh, I'm giving you advice about, your marriage or your relationship. But then she is having inappropriate thoughts and feelings and stuff about you. Okay. And then hold on.
Let me just pause, just so that I don't forget it. So you keep on going.
But I'm going to forget.
But with that, how can I control her thoughts?
You can't control her thoughts.
Okay.
But as your spouse, if I recognize that this could possibly be going down an unhealthy path, like a path that is putting her, setting her up to be lusting after you and desiring something that's mine.
Based off of advice?
Hold on. No, not based, but I'm just saying if I notice things, because now how many times have I been like, that girl like you, and you like, what girl? You like are oblivious. And I didn't watch her check you out as you walking away and you don't even notice. So I'm just saying
I think those are
two different
those
things.
are two different
It's
things.
not two different things because sometimes women see things in other women that men don't see.
I'm not
Just
but
like
I'm-
you
but
see
I'm- but I'm
things in
saying-
other men that I don't
But
see.
I'm talking about those are two different things of how I view that. Those are two different things that we're talking about now. Because from one, going back to the initial piece of it, of me being on the phone discussing business, and whether that's a business associate, whether that's a client, whether that's a friend, or all of the above, me giving advice, me trying to encourage, me doing anything in a helpful manner that's outside of me can be misconstrued as something different.
Mhm.
Now, how do I view that? What if the guy you're praying for says, she seems like she got it all together. She is attractive. She's this, she's that.
I mean, I am.
Now,
No.
but what I'm saying, how does that work? You know, that's like I said, every scenario I can turn it. That's the simple part of it. It can be turned if you allow it to be. So I am very intentional about, if I feel something, that twins that you're talking about, if I feel that, I'm going to ask a question. That's just it. I'm going to
But
ask.
so like that's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you have a situation where your spouse is being jealous, that you have to try to understand the cause of their feelings. That's all I'm saying is you need to sit down and talk. Like you can't just be like, oh, she jealous because of whatever the issue may be. You have to understand that, or that he or she may be seeing something that you don't see. That's all I'm saying. Is that can be a part of dealing with the jealousy. The first thing you need to do is sit down and see, is there merit in this, what they're feeling, or is this insecurity, or whatever the case may be. The second thing I said is to take their feelings seriously. That what I said, that they may see something that you don't.
Okay.
So because if it's like, if you see every Sunday, I mean, you wouldn't know because you be in the parking lot doing your serving. But like if it's the same guy that come up and want prayer every Sunday, and he only want to come to me for prayer, like you might be like, man, I think you need to think of, you know what I mean? You're not paying attention to me.
I'm listening to you.
He looking at the baby.
I am, but I am paying attention.
But so then it's like, you might, so in that situation, I might think, oh, he just coming up for prayer because he's unemployed and he wants prayer every Sunday. But you might be seeing him and be like, nah, he want a little more than prayer.
But how would I know that? What am I basing that off? Where is
I
that
don't
coming
know.
from?
But I don't know, but I'm saying is you just need to take I'm just saying that sit down, talk to your spouse. If you feeling jealous, talk to your spouse. And if if your spouse is coming to you with like this emotion, like I'm just really jealous about this, or I feel like this might be broaching an inappropriate situation, then like talk about it, and then talk about it, and then once you talk about it, don't just dismiss the other person's feelings. I didn't push him down. What did I say? Don't just dismiss the person's feelings. No. I actually like listen to what they have to say, listen to where they're coming from. And then I said, and be honest with yourself about your behavior and conduct. That was the third thing. And so, like, just be honest. Like, is there something that I am doing that's called, like, do I move in a way that that feeds into this insecurity or this jealousy that you have? Am I overly affectionate to the person of the opposite sex? Like really think about how you like. I just think that in some situations that the feelings are warranted. In others, it's not. So I think that when the first thing you need to do is just make sure that those feelings aren't warranted. And that's like the first three that I'm talking about, just to make sure that this isn't coming from a place where, okay, maybe it is something that's going on. Maybe it is something that I'm doing because I'm overly affectionate, or I'm overly friendly, or I'm extra whatever, or I'm paying extra attention to somebody in particular, like this person in particular. It's one thing to be like, oh, I'm giving my friend advice, and then another thing to be like, every time they call, then I'm walking out the room to talk to them. That's two completely different things. Like if you can't have the conversation with me sitting there, but you have to leave, then there may be something inappropriate going on. So that's what I'm saying. Just think about what um think about yourself and your behavior and your conduct in the situation. So I think that's something that you have to take into consideration. The fourth thing, now the fourth, like from 4 on down, is like if the jealousy is not warranted and everything. So it's like hello to the stinker. um it's is the jealous spouse seeing their mate as an idol? Because a lot of times that's what happens. You put your spouse up on a pedestal and you think that they are all this in a bag of chips, and that everybody wants them, and so you're exalting them above everything and everyone in your life, but not to like not in a good way, how I say, oh, it's God and then you, but in a way where I'm like, it's God and you, and then like everybody else wants you, and not like everything that I do is about you, and I even put you kind of before God sometimes. Like that's an issue where jealousy will come in, because I'm putting everything above you, and I'm dismissing everybody else, and even putting you above God. Like that's an issue as well. So if the jealous spouse is seeing the mate as an idol, then that's going to become an issue, because you're putting them above God. And that can cause feelings of jealousy too, because that spouse can feel like, I'm giving you everything, I'm doing everything for you, and then this is how you treat me, or whatever the case may be, when it's really that they're just, you know, elevating you into a position that you cannot um sustain, and that you weren't meant to sustain. Like you weren't meant to be everything to your spouse. Like they're individually whole without you. That whole like you complete me thing is inaccurate. Like I'm 100% whole. I was 100% whole when you met me. You were 100% whole when I met you. But when we got together, we are one, and under the umbrella of our marriage with God. So it's not like, oh, that you complete me, and without you I can't do, I'm nothing, and all that other kind of stuff, because you are something, because you're a child of God, and God didn't make you incomplete. He made you fully and completely who you needed to be. Now there are things in me that he can help to minister in things of you, but that's all, like again, that's all through God. Okay, was there anything you wanted to say about that? Like about the whole, like seeing your spouse in a position, like in a putting your spouse as an idol.
No, I think all of that is very accurate. I don't have anything to say to that.
But then the fifth thing that I wrote was, as the spouse that's jealous, are you afraid to lose your spouse, and are you insecure or unwilling to trust? So like that, like to deal with jealousy, you have to recognize that part of yourself. Is it because you are afraid that they're going to leave you for some reason? Do you have abandonment issues? Was there childhood trauma? Or are you just like, you don't trust them, or you're choosing not to trust them, or you're unwilling to trust them? And so I think that's something that, if you feel like like if you are in situations where you're always feeling like somebody is wanting what you have, or wanting your mate or your spouse, or every time they turn around or they interact with somebody else, and that's what you feel, and then it might be a situation where you are insecure, and then you need to see if that is because, like, go back to um number 3, where I said, be honest with yourself about your behavior and your conduct. You need to look and see, like, is it because the person that I am with has been um unfaithful in the past, and now that we're having issues that I haven't gotten over, or because of, this is their personality and all of that, now it's making me feel like I can't trust them and things like that. So I think that's something you have to think about too, because like, where is the jealousy coming from? Is it insecurity on your part? Is it fear of losing them on your part? Or is it because the person you chose is maybe has, been unfaithful in the past and now you chose to forgive them, but because even though you chose to forgive them, you haven't been able to get past the unfaithfulness, and so now you are unwilling to trust them. But I feel like in that situation, if it's that, like if you feel like you can't trust them, then you kind of need to. We're gonna talk about that in a second. Like you need to really evaluate your relationship and like whether or not. But so I think that that's something that you need to look at as well. And then the sixth thing. Oh, did you have something to say about that? Like about being afraid to lose your spouse or insecure or unwilling to trust?
Now I'm gonna let you finish, but I think that there's something common about all of it. But go ahead.
The sixth thing I put is if 1 through 3 are the issues, then be honest. And if change needs to be made, then make the changes. So 1 through 3 is, if just try to understand the cause of your spouse's feelings, take their feelings seriously, and then be honest with yourself about, your behaviors and stuff like that. So if it's really like a situation where maybe I do see, or maybe I have heard something and I'm saying like, babe, I know that you were just trying to be nice to this person, but I also know that this is going on and that's going on, and I think you need to back up. Then after we have that conversation, and that can be a change that's made. That's one thing. But then I put number 7, if it's not just something like, okay, hey, listen, I've seen this and I've noticed this in this one situation, and we need to talk about it. But if it's in like every situation and every interaction with women, I'm always jealous, then I think that then therapy or counseling, whether it's individual therapy for the person that's jealous, or if it's couples counseling or both, I think that something needs to happen. Because that means that there is some insecurities, maybe some childhood trauma, some issues that the person who is jealous in every situation has to deal with, that their spouse is not equipped and not the one that needs to be the one dealing with that. Like if you jealous of every person your mate hugs or talks to or interacts with, then that is an issue that you need to deal with. It's not, and it might not necessarily be your spouse. It's more than likely a you thing, unless there is unfaithfulness in the relationship, and then that's when you need to go to couples therapy to try to see if you can get to a point where you can trust that spouse again. And then the eighth thing I put is grow in trust in your mate and in love of God, because that's most important. Because when you feel the love of God, then you can receive all that love and stuff, and then you won't be putting so much pressure on your mate to be all that you need. Then you putting everything like, I want my spouse to always be with me, never be with nobody else, never go nowhere else, never do nothing else, just spend all their time with me. And then so then that's an issue. Like that's an issue. And so like you need to grow in trust. So what did you have to say?
It's for me I like all the points. I do. I think that all the points are valid. I look at it from a standpoint of, we're talking about marriage. Hopefully you didn't just jump into this. Hopefully you knew your spouse. Hopefully you asked those questions that we talked about in the earlier podcast. If they have that type of jealousy where, like you're speaking about, where everybody that you encounter they're jealous of, or whatever the case may be, I would like to believe and hope that you knew that of them before you got married. And so, again, like I say, nothing against those things. I just think you got to know who you marry.
Yeah.
And if
I
that
mean, but it might
person,
be people who are just dating that are watching this. And so if that's the case,
likewise, you know who you're
just
dating.
know, yeah,
You know
and
who you're
then
dating.
just bless you, and just realize that this is not, that before you take that step, that might be something you want to look into.
Yeah. So that's my point in it all, is that everybody that may be watching this is not married. Everybody that's watching this may not, have a relationship with Christ, may not believe in God. And so, um, prayerfully you're able to get to that point, soon. But if not, I think that I think that it's good and telling if you could still be mindful of who you are, and listen to what people tell you. They'll tell you exactly who they are.
Mhm.
Watch their actions. They're going to show you exactly who they are. And I feel that if it's, like I say, we justify a lot of things that happen when people are jealous with, oh, that's cute, they just want me for themselves, or whatever the case may be, when it may not be as cute as you think, or
Because they
as
may
healthy.
have a possessive personality,
it is.
and then it could lead to abuse and things like
Yeah.
that. So you definitely
So-
have to watch out for that.
And you may have a relationship with Christ and they may not,
Yeah.
and you
And that comes
are,
in with being unequally yoked and things
yeah,
like that.
there's a lot that goes into it. So that's why I say, from jealousy, if we're talking about it singularly, I think that I think that everything that we're stating right now with those 8 points, I think all of it is 100% valid. And then once you start to apply that, the application behind it, when you start talking about different scenarios, it's still valid. But now, where are you as the individual? Is your firm foundation God? If it's not, what are you relying on? Are you seeking advice from people that have the same traits as you?
Yeah.
That kind of
Yeah.
thing. And so I just think that, if left unchecked, it could be dangerous. It could be toxic. And so, just knowing what those triggers are, knowing, who your circle of friends are, knowing who that significant other is, who your spouse is, I think all of that's important. Being able to communicate with them and be vulnerable and share those things, as opposed to just trying to gloss over it and say that you can handle it or it's nothing, and then one day you blow up over something that's minor, or you have the mindset, hey, she or he did this, I'm going to go do this, that kind of thing. So it's one of those things where I think that communication is big. I think being vulnerable is big. I think choosing to love is big. And that love will cover some of those things.
Yeah.
I just look at it like I said, it's nothing against anything that you were stating. I just, like I say, by itself, 100%. With the application, 100%. But now it's on the individuals as to what's really going on. Are we having these conversations or are we not? Are we just assuming this about somebody or are we not? So it's a little bit more, involved, but prayerfully you do have a relationship with God, and or at least are curious about having a relationship with God and giving him a try, praying with him, asking him to reveal to you, your shortcomings. We, a lot of times we often go out and we seek, validation in another earthly
Mhm.
person. And that person that you're seeking it from is broken as you are.
Mhm.
So I just think that, with that in mind and having jealousy without having that foundation and without having, communicated anything, I just think that it leads to destruction. So that's my 2 cents on it. It was nothing that I felt like was incorrect or I didn't agree. It's just more so about the application part of it.
I think that with the, like what you said, from the, abusive standpoint and things like that is definitely something that you have to be mindful of, because you don't know like where somebody is, and like how you said about being unequally yoked and all that. And I think that that's why it's good that this came up when it did. Like, we already covered choosing to love, we already covered communication, we already covered vulnerability. And so that if you do, like, if you communicate with vulnerability and do that step one that I said about, if you are being jealous, then like talk to your spouse about it. And if you do all that, then you come to your spouse, and communicate vulnerably, whether you're the one who's jealous or
He's waving the cloud.
he waving at the camera. If you communicate, if you come to your spouse vulnerably and communicate to them what you're feeling, whether you're the one who's jealous or the one that is noticing that your spouse is being jealous, I think that you can come together and set parameters around your marriage. Because I think that there are some people who are just like, maybe they do have childhood trauma, and if they can express that to you, like, my dad left when I was 3 years old, and I'm always afraid of like somebody leaving me or something. And if you express that to your mate, they're not gonna be like, well, you just need to get over it, you know what I mean? Then y'all can set up parameters in your relationship to say, okay, well, this is what I'll do to help you to be confident, so that you can grow, because that's important. Because then we can't be like, oh, this is what we gonna do for the whole rest of our relationship forever because you insecure. Like, you can't just be like, oh, I had childhood trauma, and then just leave it there. You have to be growing, you like attempting to grow in trust and attempting to do something about the issues that you had. That's why I say about going to counseling and going to couples therapy and stuff like that. Because once you really sit down and think about, like, why is it that I'm feeling jealous? Why is, like, examine yourself. If you're the one that's jealous, examine yourself. Like, why is it that I'm feeling this way? And then if you acknowledge it's because I can't trust, I find it hard to trust somebody because I've been hurt in the past, or because I have issues, from my childhood, or whatever the case may be, then that's when you move forward. Then that's when you move forward and just really communicate, and do the work that you need to do to get past the situation. So I think that, like, so in summary, you can have good jealousy, but good jealousy is just that first little twinge of like, oh, this is what God made marriage for, and this should be kept within our marriage. And but then, like, once it goes to the act of being jealous, once it goes to, oh, that touched my finger. Once it goes to the act of like doing something because, or overreacting and things like that, I think that's when you have the issue.
Yeah.
So just really the biggest thing is like kind of going back to the last two podcasts: vulnerability and communication. And if you do those, it's gone. And if you do those two things, if you're vulnerable with your spouse about how you're feeling, and you allow them to be vulnerable with you about how you're feeling, then I think that you can work through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that also, for the men out there that are looking to ask the question or pop the question, if you will, have these conversations prior to.
Yeah.
Everything seems a certain way until you start to dig in, and I know there's something to be said about, oh, well, you don't really know a person until after you get married. There are some conversations that can be had to help out in certain situations. So just make sure you communicate. Make sure you're being vulnerable, especially if you're talking about this is somebody that you want to spend the rest of your life with. You have to open up. You have to share. Because if not, you're the one sitting in the corner reading something into a situation that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You're the one that's feeling bad. and then because you're not getting the response that you want or you think you should be getting, then you start to act out. And now you want that person to feel what you're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my 2 cents for today. Did he wipe his nose on?
On our couch.
That's aggressive.
Like he is doing all of the things, but it's okay because we love him. But so I think that's all we have to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We thank you so much for joining us this Wednesday, and we'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.